Chicago emergency. Clark.
Yes, hi. Shots fired at Dearborn and Lake. There are a bunch of youth down here. I'm sorry?
How many shots fired?
I heard probably 8 or so.
Okay, did you see who was shooting?
They just broke into the pot belly.
Did you see who was shooting?
I'm sorry?
Did you see who was shooting?
No, I did not.
Okay,
no,
then we'll send the police out there.
Okay, thank you.
On August 10, 2020, a routine patrol by the Chicago Police Department turned into a night of chaos and gunfire. In the midst of looting and widespread violence downtown, officers found themselves in a life-threatening situation when a dark sedan opened fire. Today, we're going to walk you through the events of that night and the investigation that followed, highlighting not just the critical moments, but also the aftermath and the lessons learned. Before starting the video, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with the latest uploads. On August 10, 2020, at around 4:30 a.m., Chicago Police Department officers were patrolling downtown Chicago in response to ongoing looting and civil unrest when their night suddenly took a dangerous turn. The officers, part of the critical incident response team, were stationed in one of the most chaotic areas of the city as looters and rioters ransacked businesses and clashed with law enforcement. Earlier that night, the streets of downtown Chicago had become a hotspot for looting and violent clashes. The city had been experiencing unrest for days, with looters targeting businesses and people taking advantage of the disorder. In response, the Chicago Police Department deployed extra officers to help contain the damage, including the critical incident response team led by Sergeant Jose Rojas. The team, made up of 15 officers in 5 vehicles, was tasked with protecting businesses, maintaining order, and stopping any looters they encountered. As they patrolled near Lake Street and Michigan Avenue, a group of officers observed looters carrying stolen items, including a cash register. The streets were chaotic, but just as the officers were preparing to intervene, they were faced with a far more immediate threat. A dark sedan sped down Michigan Avenue and, as it approached the officers, gunfire erupted from the vehicle. Muzzle flashes were visible from the front passenger seat as the shots rang out. Several officers, including Sergeant Rojas, Officer Eduardo Perez, and Officer Emmanuel Espinoza, reacted quickly by returning fire, aiming to stop the vehicle before it could escape. Despite the intense exchange of gunfire, the sedan managed to flee the scene, heading south on Michigan Avenue. While no officers were hit, one of the police SUVs was struck by bullets, shattering its rear window. The chaos of the night had reached a dangerous peak. Immediately after the shooting, officers began gathering evidence at the scene. Bullet casings were found in the area, confirming the officers' accounts that gunfire had been exchanged. Surveillance footage from nearby businesses also helped piece together what had occurred, showing the moments when the sedan had fired on the officers and fled. The footage corroborated the officers' reports that they had acted in response to being shot at by the suspects in the vehicle. Following the incident, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, COPA, opened an investigation into the officers' actions. COPA's role was to determine if the officers had followed proper procedure in returning fire and whether their actions were justified. As part of the investigation, all involved officers provided statements detailing their experiences during the shooting. According to the officers, they were not only dealing with looters but had also been under attack throughout the night from rioters who were throwing objects and spitting on them. Sergeant Rojas explained that when he saw the muzzle flashes coming from the sedan, he immediately fired his weapon to stop the threat. Officer Perez and Officer Espinoza also described how they acted in defense, discharging their firearms after hearing the gunshots and seeing the flashes from the car. The officers were clear in their belief that they were being targeted by the suspects and had no choice but to defend themselves. In addition to the shooting, however, the investigation by COPA revealed several instances of misconduct by officers during the night. While the gunfire exchange was deemed justifiable given the threat posed to the officers, COPA discovered that some officers had failed to follow Chicago Police Department protocols in other encounters with looters. Officer Espinoza, for instance, was found to have discharged oleoresin capsicum (OC) spray, commonly known as pepper spray, without proper justification or documentation. The use of force protocols required officers to file reports whenever they used such measures, but in Espinoza's case, this was not done appropriately. Sergeant Rojas also faced accusations of misconduct. Copa found that during the night's chaos, he had struck a suspect during an altercation and failed to properly report the use of force. Additionally, he neglected to complete tactical response reports, documents that are required after any use of force. Several other officers also faced allegations of failing to document their actions accurately, including Officer Perez, who was accused of failing to notify his supervisors about his firearm discharge or filing the necessary reports afterward. As Copa's investigation unfolded, it became clear that while the shooting incident itself was a high-pressure, life-threatening event, some of the officers had not followed proper procedures in handling other aspects of their duties that night. The failure to document the use of force, and the subsequent accusations of misconduct, raised significant concerns about accountability within the department, especially during moments of high stress and confusion. In light of these findings, the investigation highlighted the challenges faced by officers during the unrest. The sheer scale of the looting, combined with the hostility directed at the police, created an environment where split-second decisions had to be made. Officers were dealing with people throwing objects, stealing from businesses, and, in this case, firing at them from a moving vehicle. Yet, the investigation underscored that even in such chaotic situations, police officers are required to adhere to strict guidelines regarding the use of force and reporting those actions. The August 10th incident became a critical example of the need for clear communication and strict adherence to police procedures, particularly in high-pressure situations. Although no officers were injured in the gunfire exchange and the suspects in the sedan were never apprehended, the misconduct allegations against some of the officers demonstrated the complexities of managing civil unrest and highlighted the importance of following department protocols. The events of that night served as a reminder that even during the most intense situations, police actions are subject to scrutiny. The sustained allegations of misconduct against officers like Officer Espinoza and Sergeant Rojas showed that while the dangers faced by officers are real, there must still be accountability for how they respond, especially when force is used. In light of these findings, the investigation highlighted the challenges faced by officers during the unrest. The sheer scale of the looting, combined with the hostility directed at the police, created an environment where split-second decisions had to be made. Officers were dealing with people throwing objects, stealing from businesses, and, in this case, firing at them from a moving vehicle. Yet, the investigation underscored that even in such chaotic situations, police officers are required to adhere to strict guidelines regarding the use of force and reporting those actions. The August 10th incident became a critical example of the need for clear communication and strict adherence to police procedures, particularly in high-pressure situations. Although no officers were injured in the gunfire exchange and the suspects in the sedan were never apprehended, the misconduct allegations against some of the officers demonstrated the complexities of managing civil unrest and highlighted the importance of following department protocols. The events of that night served as a reminder that even during the most intense situations, police actions are subject to scrutiny. The sustained allegations of misconduct against officers like Officer Espinoza and Sergeant Rojas showed that while the dangers faced by officers are real, there must still be accountability for how they respond, especially when force is used.
Chicago emergency.
Yeah, somebody just shot about 12 gunshots up around Lake and Stetson Street.
I'm sorry, Lake and Stetson?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
All right, I'll go ahead and send this over. And you said it was 12 shots?
You. At least. Thank you.
Did you see anything before or after?
No, I was sleeping. It woke me up.
I'll let the police know, ma'am. Did you want to leave your name?
No, of course not, no.
Enjoying our content? Please like and share video with your friend, and don't forget to share your thoughts in comment section. Don't miss out on future videos. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with the latest uploads. Thanks for watching.